Welcome to Adult Siblings Versus, a podcast where a grown-ass brother and sister put aside their childhood rivalry in order to review nostalgic pieces of pop culture. I'm your co-host, Jason S. Leverett.
And I'm your other co-host, Ariel Leverett.
Well, Ariel, we finally made it to the end of George Lucas's Star Wars journey. 6 movies, and then he rides off into the sunset with billions of dollars.
Twin sunset.
A perfect recreation. We're going to get sued for sure.
Was that short enough? Will we not? I think it was short enough. Don't sue us. We have no money.
Today we are completing our prequel trilogy, Revenge of the Sith, which is also after having gone through the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith is typically thought of as the good one of the prequel trilogy. We will talk about that. I've got some stuff to talk about and a couple of things that I think we should have talked about in previous episodes that we didn't, so I'm going to try to bring that up. But before we get into it, just some housekeeping. If you want to reach us, you can contact us at adultsiblingsversus@gmail.com. We are on Twitter. That's Twitter at adultversus. And on Instagram at Adult Siblings Versus. And then also we have a Facebook account as well. And don't forget that if you haven't already, please make sure that you are giving us the high scores on your podcatcher of choice. Give us those thumbs up and those 5-star Frog Splash reviews, and then write a little bit something. All that stuff helps the algorithm. And don't forget to tell your friends, especially if you have friends who hate the Star Wars prequels, because this is a good jumping on point for those type of people.
Also, I have roped a new friend into listening, so this will be a test. And like, if you're listening, Bob, hey! But if you stop listening, aw.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a funny thing because we're recording this the day that I've put up the Phantom Menace review. So if Bob is listening, he might be listening to that, and maybe he decides he hates us and then doesn't get to this episode.
I swear to God, Bob. All right.
Okay, so Revenge of the Sith, aka Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is the 2005 sequel to Attack of the Clones. Every time I see Attack of the Clones, I keep almost saying Attack the Block.
Oh.
This was written and directed solely by George Lucas. Budget for this film, $113 million. That's either the same or slightly lower than the last 2 movies as far as budget goes. So I'm pretty impressed with Lucasfilm being able to keep that budget from blowing up outside of that 115 million. It's I feel like these days it'd be like 150 and the next movie is like 180 and the next movie is somehow 3 million.
Yeah.
Or 300 million.
Yeah, getting really bloated and just ridiculous. So yeah, that is something. I do feel like the quality of these movies, budget wise and effects and blah blah blah, seem to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic are very good at what they do, so we're actually kind of seeing in real time them getting better at what they're doing. The gross for this movie was $868.4 million, so not as high as the Phantom Menace, but a good $200 million or so more than Attack of the Clones, which is slightly surprising. Like, you'd think that there'd be less returns. Of course, this number might be altered by any subsequent re-releases of this film. Hard to know for sure. I don't have that math in front of me. Now, Ariel, before I start talking about the background of this film, I did want to kind of talk to you a little bit about your nostalgia and experience of this film. I think at this point you were like, you would just finish your... Where are you in life in 2005? I'm kind of blanking here.
I'm in high school. I don't remember what time of year this was, but like 2000.
Probably May.
So that's junior year and end of junior year.
Let's see. Do I have the actual date? Yeah, May. So now you're kind of at this point you're in the same boat I was when Phantom Menace came out. So what was your reaction seeing this film? especially after the downer of the last one.
I hated the other movie so much that I really didn't give this movie a chance. Like, I saw it literally once, and I just like, I was just out. Like, because it's like nothing it could do. Well, it certainly didn't do enough to like make me forget about how much I disliked the previous movie, and because I already had zero confidence in Hayden Christensen as Anakin, so I didn't care about his arc into becoming Darth Vader. Like, I just, because like every time I looked at him, I'm just getting mad, and I really hated, Natalie Portman's like performance of Padme. So like I didn't care what happened to her. So like I just like basically walked in this movie like, nah, dog. And I also, in prime me fashion, I was very worried about seeing his burnt up body.
even at age 16.
Yeah. Because it's like fresh. I think I'd only recently gotten to the point where I could look at him. Because like I spent years refusing to look at like the unmasking of Darth Vader. And
he looks like Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, and like, I mean, in hindsight, it was really fine. But he was like fresh burnt, like Freddy Krueger, and I was just like, I was afraid, I was worried about seeing that.
Yeah. Okay. I remember having kind of the opposite reaction as to what I had with the Phantom Menace when I went in. I saw the movie and I came out feeling pretty good, but then the more I thought about it, the more I disliked it. And I think here, I was like you. I came in just so jaded from Attack of the Clones that I just didn't care. So I left out that way going like, another tragedy. And then over time, after thinking about it more, I was like, actually, that was probably better than what I'm thinking. So like I came to eventually, and I saw it more than the one time. I caught it later down the line. I was in college at this point. I'm not entirely certain when and where I saw it, but I actually see this movie. I would catch it on cable more than any other of the prequel trilogies. I would just see it. Sometimes it'd be like on Spike TV on a like daily basis for some reason, or I'd be in a restaurant in Chicago and then suddenly this movie pops up on the TV. I'm not sure why this specifically and not the other two. Maybe it has something to do with it having an ending, actually a conclusion or whatever. But that's neither here nor there. So I do want to talk about the film. But before I get into it, a couple of things I just want to mention. A lot of the information I talked about in these trilogy of podcast episodes, I did get from a YouTube channel called SF Debris. I probably should have mentioned that prior to today. But if you want to see significantly more deep dive into what was going on with George Lucas in this trilogy, and then also prior to this trilogy, that channel has like its own trilogy of George Lucas videos. And when I say videos, I mean series of videos. It's like 10 plus times 3. So it's a lot of material. And I want to make sure I get that shout out. And then also one guy who I wanted to bring up now before I forget is Rick McCallum, who is the producer for all these films. At the time, he was George Lucas's right-hand man. Guy has a reputation, apparently, for being something of a yes man to, like, as far as the fandom goes. Like, he's the guy who tells George Lucas he's a genius whenever he comes up with a bad idea. That's his reputation. But an interesting thing about him, and because his name kept coming up as I was doing the research here, it sounds like he was actually kind of the opposite of that. So the problem is that he has been George Lucas's most intense defender. Like anytime anyone says even suggests something negative about him, he just tears them up in interviews. So it seems like he's something of a sycophant, but behind the scenes, he's actually the guy telling Lucas what he doesn't want to hear, but needs to hear. And the reason he's so loyal to Lucas is because Lucas apparently doesn't have much of an ego. For as it turns out, so McCallum feels confident to be able to tell Lucas uncomfortable truths and not get punished for it. Like he'll be like, oh, we should have a bunch of dancing and singing robots in this scene. That'd be pretty good. George, that's not gonna work. People are really upset about some of these other stuff that you did before. Maybe you shouldn't do it. Oh, you might have a good point there. I'm not gonna swear like Jason always says I do. I'm just actually a nice guy. Want to get some milk? Want to get some frosty milkshakes? Sure thing, boss.
Well,
on you though, right? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm rich.
I can respect that. It's kind of like I could talk shit about my family, or like I can do what I do behind closed doors, but you can't talk shit about them. How dare you?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And this was a period where the fandom had completely turned on George Lucas, so this guy had plenty of opportunity to have that button triggered from. Anyway, I brought him up because he's going to play a little bit of an important role here. So Lucas started work on episode 3 even before episode 2 was done. He had kind of a weird problem here in that, well, he has the same problem he always has, that he just did not have enough time to get the script done that he needed. But this time he had the opposite problem of the first 2 movies. The first 2 movies, like, because of the way that he decided to split them, they just didn't have enough plot per movie, so he had to keep throwing a bunch of bullshit at it, and it showed. Whereas this movie, he had a shit ton of ideas of stuff that he wanted to happen in this movie, and he realized if he did it all, if he did everything he wanted to do, it's gonna be a 4-hour movie. So he cuts out the stuff about teenage Boba Fett trying to get revenge against Mace Windu. He cuts out the stuff about 10-year-old Han Solo on Kashyyyk, hanging out with Chewbacca.
Whoa.
And unfortunately, he cuts out a lot of the stuff that he wanted to do with Padme.
I just got like all this because he just had to make Anakin a 10-year-old in the first movie. Like, this is so frustrating.
Oh, just wait a few minutes, please, because we're gonna come back to that in a second. So he decides to try to shore up things, but he does have a couple of issues. Like, for example, the focus has got to be on Anakin and Vader in a more of a way than he was going to. But he had a couple of issues that popped up. Like, for example, in order to get the emotional pathos right, he came to the conclusion that Anakin had to cross a line early in the film, and concluded that the best way to do that for him to kill a villain in cold blood, and that Count Dooku was the only villain that the audience would have any sort of emotional connection to. So he couldn't just kill like a new villain. So Count Dooku had to be killed immediately. So he had to create a new character that the main characters could pursue throughout the rest of the film. So that's how General Grievous was created. So this is kind of like the opposite. It's kind of a similar way of Qui-Gon Jinn being created. Like, well, Obi-Wan can't do this, so let me create a new character who can. It's the same type of thing. There was an interesting issue that came up. The film had a rough cut, and he was showing it to test audiences. The movie that we see is actually quite different than what the version he showed to these folks was. The people who saw the movie, they did not like it, and they didn't buy Anakin's reasoning for turning to the dark side, for becoming Darth Vader. So in this version, the original version, Anakin joins Palpatine because he has just gained a desire for power. And then separately, the fucking Jedi, decide to overthrow the government. Not because Palpatine is a Sith Lord, because they don't know this, but because they believe that he won't end the war once Grievous has been captured. So they decide, we're just going to take over the government, and then we're just going to hold it until free elections can happen. So in the original version, Anakin's, the whole thing about Anakin wanting to save Padme is not there. It is him wanting to just become powerful, and then the Jedi have a truly tremendous fall from grace because their decision to overthrow the government is what directly leads to their destruction. And it's kind of like in that aspect of it really implies that from the beginning, Lucas was trying to tell us that the Jedi had completely lost their way, and this was going to be the culmination of that. But like I said, there was a bad audience test reaction. So he went back and he filmed a couple of scenes to get where he wanted, but for the most part, he heavily edits what he has in order to get the narrative he wants. If you watch this movie, you might notice that there are some instances in the third quarter third quarter, in the third act, that don't quite sync up with what we're hearing. Like Anakin seems a little more like I love power, nom nom nom, than would made sense from the beginning of the film, where he was like, I need the power to save my wife, nom nom nom. And then there's a through line throughout that whole act, the act of like the Jedi tried to take over the government, and the idea is like, oh, that's a lie that the Emperor and Anakin are throwing out. But the fact was, when those characters were saying that, they were telling the truth. The Jedi had in fact tried to overthrow the government. Now it turns out they were right, and like, you know, the Sith Lord, but the fact is, when they're telling the senators like, oh, there's been a rebellion, the Jedi tried to take over the government, that's not just bullshit. That actually didn't happen in the original cut. But in this new cut, the Jedi have full evidence to at least believe that Palpatine is the Sith Lord, so that was their reasoning for taking him down. So I thought that was just kind of an interesting thing, because I was watching it very closely, and I did kind of like, you know, he's just so evil in that last fight with Obi-Wan. I think that's bleeding over from the original version.
Well, it's just, you know, he, after killing all those younglings, it's just like, you're just in the mood now. It's like, I'm just feeling my evil.
I actually feel that, you know, Anakin killing those younglings because he really liked the idea of wearing black and having lightning powers is a much shittier thing to watch than Anakin killing those younglings, as he's convinced that's the only way he can become powerful enough to keep his wife from dying after having to watch his mother die.
Anytime he's loses or is afraid to lose essentially a mother figure, he kills kids.
Oh yeah.
So I killed the Jedi, not just the masters, but the Padawans and the younglings too.
I kill them like animals because they are animals. Now, going back to Rick McCallum for a second. Early on, McCallum kind of just brought up this through line, and Lucas ultimately agreed that at the end of the day, this trilogy is about characters, and frankly, that is not Lucas's strong point. He said, like, this is what it is. We need to focus on characters. You are not the best director to get that out of the actors. This is not inherently a bad thing. This is where we are, so we have to accept that reality and figure out what we can do to fix it. And what they ended up doing on McCallum's suggestion is they ended up hiring a guy named Chris Neal, who was brought on technically as a dialogue coach on set, but his actual role was to work with the actors over character interaction and depth. So this involved him doing a lot of rehearsing with the actors, making sure that they had a much stronger sense of who their characters were and what they needed to bring to the table, and the stuff that Lucas is not having conversations with these actors, right? So when they come into like this on set ready to do their lines, they are armed way better than they were in the last two movies.
This kind of makes me think of like when you're in a play and you have a director who is not great at communicating like what they want, and they are not a very good actor's director, but you have like an assistant director who can have like sessions with you and kind of like translate what the director wants into a way that is actually useful for the actor. Like, I mean, that does happen, and it's, you know, it's helpful to have that. Like, even if you like, good for him for like recognizing like we gotta do something, dog. Someone has to actually like coach these people. Like, if only we'd started doing that before.
We'll probably talk about this a bit more when we get into the meat of things, but I think there is a stark improvement of character work in this film from the last two ones. Like, it's a noticeable improvement.
The Anakin Padme scenes are better.
Yeah,
still not great. The bar is low.
No, still not great.
But they are definitely better.
I have lots to say about Hayden Christensen that I want to talk about when we get to that point, but I think that a lot of things here are better. So this film was a hit. It was a big success. It ended the trilogy on a positive note. The critics liked this one. So it was both a success financially and critically. And basically, with it being completed, Lucas was able to fulfill the promise of the prequel trilogy. I think I had messed up a little bit in some of these past episodes, so I want to kind of make sure I correct myself. Lucas did, when he decided to make multiple sequels to the original Star Wars, he did envision at some point a 12-part epic, but that kind of went away. And the reason for that was because the serials he grew up with, the movie serials he grew up with, were 12 parts, and that's where all these are like based off of those type of movies. But he did sort it to 9 movies shortly after that. So I've been slipping up a little bit here and there, saying 12 when I should have been saying 9. So I do apologize for that. But the only promise he made was for the prequel trilogy, because when he released The Empire Strikes Back, he titled it Episode 5. And therefore, there had to be an Episode 1, 2, and 3 for that to make sense. So he fulfilled the promise. He no longer needed to do Star Wars, and he felt at peace at that. He ended up deciding, I never need to direct another Star Wars movie ever again. The Clone Wars happened at that point, so he was still involved with Star Wars. Lucasfilm is still licensing out stuff, but this is only until 2012 when, after many decades of fostering the franchise, he sold Star Wars to Disney, where it would be put on the fast track for a new sequel trilogy that had basically nothing to do with the ideas that Lucas had back in the 80s, and apparently they did not take many of his ideas that he brought to them at the time. And this era of Star Wars has been controversial. Some people like some stuff, some people hate some stuff, some people hate everything that has happened. But Star Wars still exists, but George Lucas was paid billions of dollars to not be in charge of it anymore. So that is where his story, as far as this franchise, ends. But I don't think that it would make sense for us to never talk about the sequel trilogy after going through these 2 trilogies. So I'm just going to go and make my own promise. At some point, we will do the sequel trilogy on this podcast someday.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I cannot wait to rewatch The Rise of Skywalker.
That is I've only watched it once.
Okay, Ariel. So, I was watching Revenge of the Sith, but then I realized, wait a second, isn't it Revenge of the Jedi? And then so I looked on IMDb, and then I fell into an IMDb hole, and then 3 days later, I realized that I had completely forgot to finish watching the movie, and also I hadn't left the couch in all that time. So would you please go ahead and tell people what happened in this movie, since I got possessed by the internet and wasn't able to do it myself?
Well, unfortunately, I actually just ended up watching the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, so who knows? Who knows what happened? So our story begins. We are just in the heat of the Clone Wars, battle. Palpatine has been kidnapped by the Separatists, and it's up to Obi-Wan and Anakin to go save him. They save him in his nice, convenient throne. Palpy always doing the most. They fight Dooku. It ends up kind of being a one-on-one with Anakin and Dooku, and after a very pleasant kill him, Anakin is pretty much like, no, well, okay. Kills Dooku pretty fast. We meet General Grievous, who really needs to work on his just breathing work, his breath work. He needs to get one of those.
He's a humidifier, right?
Yeah, but he needs to get there's a little meter thing that you blow into, and you kind of check your lung capacity, and when you have stuff like pneumonia and stuff, you gotta build that back up. He might want to see his primary care physician.
Hey, they explained why he has that in a cartoon that immediately became non-canon.
God, it's hard to watch. Anyway, they save Palpy. So hooray.
Palpy baby.
they're getting to the point where it's like, okay, we've got Dooku. We think we might know where Grievous is. Like, we might be like getting to the end of the war. This is exciting. We need to get Grievous. Also, the Wookiees are having issues on Kashyyyk, so we gotta help them. Meanwhile, the love marriage of Padme and Anakin continue, but now she's pregnant. And so while they're making out in like very visible large halls, trying to be secretive.
Wow, what terrible people they are as far as secrecy goes.
I mean, like, this is like it's such a big hall. You're just making out in this fully visible. You're like standing next to a pole in an otherwise fully open hall. But anyway,
and right next to like what is basically the future sidewalk where a bunch of cars driving, like flying past.
Just imagine you're like walking with a group of people and you literally take like one step back and just start making out with someone. It's like, they probably won't notice. Anyway, so we have that happening, and they're like, woo, love and family, and oh no, secrets. Anakin has a dream similar to his mom dreams that
put a pin in that because I forgot to bring that up. But put a pin in that, please.
Yeah, it seemed like Padme is dying, which honestly, those dreams just look like she's literally just giving birth. It doesn't seem like she's dying. I don't know if he understands what childbirth is, but it's like it's just painful.
No, why would he know? The Jedi don't teach him anything.
And I'm like,
sword
judging
fighting.
from this movie, I am like 90% sure that George Lucas himself doesn't understand pregnancy and childbirth. A lot of these things are kind of leading me to be like, I can probably see.
Well,
how.
a lot of his kids are adopted.
Okay. A lot of them or all of them?
Possibly all of them. But because I don't know, I don't want to say all of them.
Okay. Because it does seem like he doesn't understand how pregnancy and childbirth works. But
the stork comes and brings it to all the good Jawas.
Okay, there's so much things. Meanwhile, the Jedi Council is like, Palpatine has been in office for too long. We're not digging that. We think he's shady. For some reason, we are now realizing that he is surrounded by like dark sidiness. Where was that before? I guess he's just letting his farts out more now because he's feeling very comfortable. And we got a spy on him. You're friends with Palpy. You do an Anakin. Anakin's like, but he my friend. I'm also feeling really bad about my or whatever. So their relationship is getting closer, because Anakin considers Palpy a mentor. Basically, what ends up happening is Palpy kind of like shows his hand. He's just like, hey, I can like help you. I know you have your wife is Padme and she's totally gonna die. And you also, I do know about how to prevent death. Have you ever heard of Darth Plagueis the Wise? So he gets him on his side. Anakin tries to, while battling this kind of back and forth, he does tell the Senate the Jedi Council that Palpy is definitely that Sith Lord, and they go to stop him, but he's like, no, JK, I really you can't kill him. I need him to be a evil guy. And it's like, then he becomes an evil guy. And meanwhile, Obi kills Grievous, so things are going well in that realm. But then Order 66 happens and all the clones are activated to kill all the Jedi, and they do. And Anakin is on the dark side and he goes to the Jedi temple, kills all the Jedi, and including the Jedi babies. And then you have your final standoff between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and he just force chokes his pregnant wife all lovingly like you do. And she dies from sadness like a fucking ancient Greek play. And and Anakin becomes Darth Vader because he gets all burnt up and shit. And then we're where we are. You get it. That's the thing. And woo.
Something I forgot to mention when Lucas did the re-editing to get the narrative he wanted. One of the things he did was he took the scene of Padme giving birth and had Anakin have a dream where he sees that and interprets it as her dying. And which is fine. That's actually a fine way to go about it. I think that's
Sure.
perfectly fine, except that this is the guy who was so concerned about like flashbacks and visions that the audience can see not being Star Wars that he ended up making a whole fucking movie to show Anakin's story. But then like by this point he's like, "Oh no, it's okay. Flashbacks are fine. We can do flash forwards. That's great." And I find it so funny. It was necessity, almost certainly. It was just better to do it that way than to not. But man, just a couple of years difference, like a 10-year difference that makes. It's just fun. It's funny to me.
So ridiculous. Nah, bah.
So this is gonna be the hardest movie to talk about in terms of the fact that when it comes to other Star Wars material, because we had this problem before where we were trying to just talk about the movie itself, not necessarily about other material like the Clone Wars, but so much of the Clone Wars leads directly into this movie.
Yeah.
And so much of the context of what happens in this movie is made better by the machinations of the Clone Wars. That it's a little hard because like one of the reasons that Anakin has become so hostile towards the Jedi Council is because the Jedi Council fucked over his Padawan.
Yeah, I really had to really put that aside because, like, obviously after watching this, I was like, I do want to rewatch those final 4 episodes because I really do love them. But I did make sure to like watch Revenge of the Sith, make my notes, and then rewatch the Clone Wars stuff because I didn't want that to too heavily color my opinions.
Yeah, so we'll do our best, but this is something. Oh, and then the fact that General Grievous acts like he's never met Obi-Wan or Anakin before, when he was definitely their team Rocket equivalent in the Clone Wars. Oh, it looks like General Grievous is blasting off again.
Also find it like very funny that General Grievous, like his insult to Anakin was just like, with all I've heard about you, I thought you'd be older. And it's like, so you think your insult to Anakin is that he's like a wonderkin? Good job.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, take that, sir.
I had no idea that you were a prodigy. Got him. We got him.
Okay. I like this movie. I thought this movie. I was actually surprised how much I was enjoying this movie. It was actually kind of strange, but I came through it being like, this is way more fun and way more dramatic to me than I ever felt watching it before. It felt, and this wasn't just me being like, and this is where Ahsoka would fit in. This is why I like it more. No, it was more. I think it was genuinely, I was enjoying what I was seeing. I thought that whatever Chris Neal did helped a lot. I think that not just whatever's going on between Padme and Anakin. I think down the line there was not a ton of just like painfully weak performances that couldn't balance out the dialogue. Yeah. Like there wasn't just a lot of that, not at all. And I thought that a lot of characters reached their zenith here. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi is fucking awesome in this movie.
And you get that hello there.
Oh yeah, he does the hello there. He does his. I think this is when he first starts doing his trademark lightsaber stance.
Yeah. I think I saw it in the last movie once. But I think he does it a lot of times in this.
I was looking for it and I just didn't see it in the last movie. I could have missed it though. I watched it twice too, but it's actually very easy for me to miss that type of thing. But like and you really get like a really good sense of his personality in the way that I think was meant to be, better than in the last movie. Not a whole lot of him just kind of like dead facing as Yoda says he's too arrogant, but there's a lot of like on the outside I'm a prim and proper Jedi, but action and adventure are things this Jedi craves.
Yeah, you get more of his adventurous side that they really that the script pushed up against so much in the last movie and really prevented him from shining the way he should. I agree that there's a lot more things in this movie that I did genuinely like and was moved by. I think my thing is like, it's so hard because it's like, for me it's just like, oh, this is like so close. In a lot of ways it's so close to being what I want, and it kind of makes it harder for me because I'm just like, this really could have been it, and like I'm just like so sad that it is not what it could be. It definitely is better than the stuff before, but it bums me out.
This is the way I think about it, and I was when I came out of this movie, I think that all the improvements down the line made this a good Star Wars movie, but all the left turns and near misses and things they didn't fix in the last ones is what kept it from being probably the best Star Wars movie. This movie could have been the best Star Wars movie. All the ingredients were there,
Yeah.
but it just didn't quite utilize them properly to get that distinction.
Yeah.
And it sucks, especially like considering how bad the last one was. Like, it would have been kind of amazing if like they had completely fixed everything. But
It's just not enough time.
there's not enough time. If he had done a 3.5 hour movie, which happens a lot now, that happens a lot more now these days, there might have been more time, and we might have gotten baby Solo, like 10-year-old Han Solo in there as well.
Like if we could have traded in 9-year-old Anakin for a 10-year-old precocious Solo, I definitely would have I would have preferred that. Man, it just bums me out. But like, yeah, there are definite moments, and we'll get into it. But like, there are moments that I was like, oh, I'm like really feeling this, and so like it definitely, I appreciate the upgrade. I do not hate it like I thought I did when I was in high school.
One of the things I liked a lot about this movie compared to the last one was Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship was
So much better.
significantly better realized.
Yes.
Because this one, they actually feel like they like each other. They actually feel like they are the brothers that they should have. And that part of that could be just that their relationship probably works better when they are Jedi of more or less equal standing, as opposed to one being Padawan.
Yeah.
And they're more partners than, main guy and sidekick. But I think a big part of that is just that I think that Anakin was better realized here, because I think here Anakin is able to acknowledge how close he is to Obi-Wan and acknowledge how much he respects Obi-Wan, and his resentment towards him, he's able to keep internally instead of telling any side fucker who comes along how much he hates Obi-Wan and how much he's holding him back.
There's just a guy like vacuuming in the hallway in the Senate, and he just starts ranting about it and holding him back. Like that was his vibe. I like that was actually like the first note I made, was that I like the chemistry and the banter between Annie and Obi so much more in this movie.
Yeah, it was a lot better, and one of my favorite scenes in this film was when Palpatine and Anakin are about to leave the corpse room of Count Dooku, and Obi-Wan's unconscious under some debris, and Palpatine's like, "We gotta leave him," and Anakin just flat out says, "No, fuck you. If he dies, we die."
Yeah, which
and
is great.
That to me, that is one of those character defining moments. Like, it makes you understand how a character ticks. If Obi-Wan had expressed even a tiny bit of doubt of how the Jedi Council operates, I suspect Anakin would have tried to bring him into the fold with him and Palpatine, as opposed to just like, well, if he dies, he dies, I guess.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, I don't know. I think I would have been a little bit more red flaggy with the whole, like, just leave him. We gotta go. Leave him behind. Like,
yeah, but we've established before that Anakin's dumb, but really he is such, like, he has latched on to Palpatine so much by this point. I can kind of see him not really thinking about that as a red flag. It's more like, oh, the Chancellor's being pragmatic. I get it, but I'm going to save my friend. Especially since the Jedi are super fucking pragmatic. He might have been like, well, that's the Jedi way, but that's not the Anakin way. I don't know. It's a little difficult. I probably talk about it in characters about Padme, so I don't really need to get there. I thought it was interesting that they didn't have anything close to the slapstick comedy in this movie compared to the last one. I think the only real thing they had was just R2's misadventures on the by the spaceships, where the battle droids are like trying to cause him some trouble. And
Yeah.
I didn't hate that sequence at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was about the level of that kind of razzmatazz that I wanted. I thought it was a cute moment, like particularly when it's like, okay, you got a second idea, like I think that was cute, and I like the ongoing droid thing with Obi-Wan and the back and forth between Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's like he's trying, like I liked that.
If droids could think, we'd be rescued by now. Am I right?
Obi-Wan, you really gotta check yourself. Check your privilege, sir.
I'm trying to think of like some specific stuff that I liked that wasn't just character stuff, because I want to talk about stuff that I didn't like, but I want to make sure that I express quite properly what I liked about this film.
I do think that for me there were like these nice. I mean, I guess this kind of related to characterization, but I think there were nice moments of just like building kind of the emotional state of things in a shot. Like I do like the scene, like basically like before shit goes down and it's really quiet and they're kind of going back with like basically everyone staring out of windows, and you have like it's just kind of this kind of like quiet bass underneath that it's, and you can kind of tell like it's literally like a calm before the storm kind of moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking in this movie, and it's a lot of quiet moments in between the big beats, but it doesn't feel boring the way the last two movies did when they did that.
Yeah, like I really did feel because like the way they did the silence in that little kind of montage before like shit really breaks off, like it did give me like a little bit of like a sense of dread and anticipation. Is like, well, everything is about to go wrong. And I also liked the shot that they have of Anakin on Mustafar, like after he's like killed all the separatists, and he's standing there being all evil, but you close up on him and you see that he's crying.
Yeah,
like I think that's actually a really beautiful shot.
There's a lot of great shots in this. There's like a lot of just like really cool imagery like throughout, and a lot of like some of the best scenes from a visual standpoint happen in this movie of all the prequel trilogies.
Yeah.
Like I'll get back to lightsaber fights in a second, but I like the duel on Mustafar is just looks so good.
Yes, it still looks good, like still holding up.
So yeah, like this is a very good looking film, a lot of really good shots. The emotional resonance works better here than so many of the things that they tried to do in the last two movies that just didn't flat out work. I do want to talk about the lightsaber fights. I think there's a lot of them in this movie, so they're not all winners. There's kind of like a little bit of everything that you get in this, but I particularly liked it's overblown. And especially like there's one scene in particular where Obi-Wan and Anakin do this crazy lightsaber spinning thing.
Yeah, they're just like Molinay, or like okay, calm down.
But generally speaking, I really liked the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin intersected with the fight between Palpatine and Yoda.
Yeah, you're like juggernauts versus juggernauts. Oh, like it's yeah.
Yeah. Especially I fucking love just how like Palpatine is just like having just a great time being evil.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to pretend anymore.
I mean, God, I definitely felt like he's like, man, he's really feeling himself. Like I was like, because I feel like his natural state is just kind of being like a more tired version of his like Senate phase, and it's like I bet it feels nice to just like not have to be so dang uppity, just to be like, do this for me. Like I understand that as an actor and who has like all of my jobs are performative. I have to turn on the energy so much, and probably to the dismay of my partner. When I'm just at home, it is like my energy is like to zero. I am full like I go from like Senator Palpy right down to Darth Sidious, and I feel it. Oh, and I have to say with that, it's funny because I really did hate the Yoda fight in the second movie, but it did not bother me in this one, funny enough.
Well, because I think part of it is that with that other fight, like the stuff that you would assume a fight between Yoda and a powerful evil force user happened in like 20 seconds, and then it turned into a lightsaber fight. Whereas the fight here is a lightsaber battle, but it is utilizing the full range of their force powers in an environment that is very like useful for doing that, because they're fighting with lightsabers. They're using telekinesis to throw whole hover carts at each other.
So great.
I mean, like it utilizes the space better for Yoda, whereas the last movie was just like, wouldn't it be fucking cool if Yoda dueled someone with a lightsaber? And the answer was no, not really.
Yeah.
Like literally, like the stuff like Count Dooku's throwing lightning, dropping stuff on Yoda, Yoda blocking it. That probably should have been expanded and be the whole fight, right? We don't really need to see Yoda being like my blade with a lightsaber is good. But yeah. Okay, so I gotta talk about the stuff that's not good, because I feel like I'm just gonna be spinning my wheels. I think that the stuff between Anakin and Padme is better, but it still ain't fucking good.
It ain't fucking good. I'm like, this makes Padme seem like just a bad person, or a ignorant person to just a complete unbelievable degree. This is her in this movie, and her, the way they present her just kind of dynamic with Anakin. I just hate it so much. And like I wish they just could have added more to what they are, and what and how she actually feels about him. Because like even when they would start to like maybe go in that direction of like in her trying to actually be a real partner to him, because clearly he has issues that he is not sharing, and they would like immediately backtrack and not go there. And I find it really, really crazy. Like, they are married. They've been married for years. And the idea that, like, you finally have a moment when she is like, you keep doing this, don't shut me out, let me help you. And then to immediately then just go, just hold me like you did on Naboo. And not actually have, like, what happened to don't shut me out or let me help you? Where is it? Like, why won't you let them actually be a real fucking couple? I hate it so much.
Yeah, because I would be okay with Anakin doing what he did, but I would want Padme to be like, react accordingly.
Yeah.
And it was like if you're not going to be my partner, then maybe you should go stay at the temple for a while.
I honestly need Padme to be sometimes afraid of Anakin.
Yeah.
Like they make it seem like she has absolutely no issue with anything that he does, that he is just lovely and never does anything wrong. That is what they present, basically. And that does not make any sense.
Obi-Wan totally says that Anakin kills younglings, and she's like, that's impossible. There's no way he'd ever do that. Even though Anakin totally once told him how he killed kids.
She doesn't want to let on that she's super into it. And she was just like,
oh my God.
Well, wait till I see you later. I heard you kill some more kids.
I can't believe that he killed younglings. Ooh, I can't believe he killed younglings.
Texting him wherever he is. You up? Yeah, just it.
I heard you were at the temple. What's going on?
Yeah, like it just like it doesn't make sense. And like, cause like honestly, if they presented this as more of this is a toxic relationship, and like even like you could still, many people still love their partner while knowing that they are doing things wrong and that they are afraid of them, but they love them, and it's a conflict, and they know that, like that is a real thing, and that is something that you can play around with, because she has been with him for too long. It's bad enough, like, her complete disregard of what a dick he is in the second movie, but she has seen all of this, for years, and seen the way that he has probably continued to blow up in weird ways and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like the idea that this is absolutely, there's no hint of her being bothered by any of this and that there isn't more of an issue is weird. Because, like, her, like, you know, not wanting to tell where he is, blah, blah, and then, because, like, if part of that is fear about what's gonna happen, you know, like, I would understand it more than, like, flat out denial. Because I think denial mixed in with fear makes sense to me, but not just flat out denial, like, you don't know this person.
The movie really wants you to feel emotional resonance with all the Jedi being killed, but unfortunately,
don't know them.
the movie had spent no real time having us get to know any of these characters. So it's, in looking back, they probably should have just picked a group of Jedi to be supporting characters in the last 2 movies that we think are interesting, and then have them get killed. Like, I like Kit Fisto because he looks cool.
Kit Fisto, like, you couldn't have him have, like, even one exchange of banter with Kit Fisto.
Yeah, he has no lines in the entire film, the entire trilogy. I don't think he's in the first one, but he.
We don't see any of the. Well, no, I guess we see, like, a little bit at the council, but yeah, I don't think he's there.
In the first movie.
Yeah, I don't think he's a part of that council.
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of missing Jedi from that council from the first one that we never see again. Like Lady Yoda, whose name I don't remember. We never see her again.
Which, once again, if you watch Tales of the Jedi, you get they give you an answer to what happens to her.
Oh, okay. Was she like, you know what? I'm too hot for this shit. I'm heading back to wild space and get my groove back.
Yeah, she does it like a Yoda equivalent of how Stella got her groove back. That's amazing.
I'm aware that she doesn't talk in Yoda speak. Every instance of a character who may or may not be of Yoda's species does not talk broken like Yoda. Yoda's the only one who does it, and I just think he does it because he likes it. Okay. Anyway. Now there's characters in this montage of Jedi death that are supporting characters in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, Plo Koon, was that his name?
Ugh, I cannot remember the names. Like, Kit Fisto is the only one that sticks in my head.
Yeah, so they've great job of having memorable characters.
Yeah, because, like, one of them, you know, the one guy who I only think of as Master Rotisserie because his head looks like a rotisserie chicken. Who knows what the fuck his name is?
You got it in one. Master Rotisserie. But yeah, like that Twi'lek who gets gunned down in a particularly brutal fashion. Yeah, it's like you want to feel for these characters, but it's a little hard because we just haven't been around. The prequel trilogy does not spend enough time trying to make us have any good feelings about the Jedi, honestly. So.
And, like, the way they die, like, you know, Kit Fisto and the other dude, because they're, like, with Mace Windu to, like, capture Palpatine, and he strikes them down so fast without a thought. And I felt like, come on now. You didn't have to give them a little bit of a fight. Like, it honestly, it felt unrealistic that it made them look so weak. And I don't think you really want that. Like, give them, like, strike. Like, yes, Palpatine is going to be stronger than them and probably beat them fairly easily. But, like, that, the nothing, swoosh, whoosh that he does bums me out.
My only defense of this scene is because the original context of the scene was that they thought they were going to arrest an old man. And then suddenly it turns out he's a Sith Lord. And they're like, oh, fuck, slice.
Every time you try to arrest an old white man, and it always turns out they have a knife. You always gotta remember that.
Now, in the recut, obviously they know going into that they're going to fight a Sith Lord, so you'd think they'd be. So yeah, like they wouldn't be caught off guard by that. But I think the idea in the original shot was that they didn't know what they were getting into. They didn't have time to prepare themselves for Palpatine to come spinning out of his chair like fucking M. Bison, you know. It kind of reacted accordingly, and then Mace Windu, because he's like the best Jedi in the galaxy, is the only one who's like not only not caught off guard, but also just like whoops his ass. So but that is not the context of the film that we got, so we can't use that as an excuse. And then B, even if they were caught off guard, I still would have liked to see them, especially Kit Fisto, who was kind of like a bit popular at this point. There were a lot of people who liked him, and this felt a little too much like Boba Fett into a Sarlacc pit to me. That said, I was watching this. Kit Fisto barely gets killed. Like, he gets like kind of sliced a little bit, but it's not like he gets cut in half. He's just got like his stomach cut up.
It's weird what things are big injuries and not with lightsabers. Because I kind of felt this way a little bit with the second movie when, like, Obi-Wan gets, like, a little cut on his arm and a little cut on his leg, and he's just, like, out. He's just like, no, I'm so wounded.
Oh, it's a
like,
boo-boo. I'm out. I'm out, dog.
Like, he's at, like, the same level as Anakin, who just got his arm chopped off. And it's like, yeah, we are equally injured. We are immobile. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't think anyone is ever really consistently tracking how severe, how, like, lightsaber wounds work.
Master, he cut my arm off. How badly are you hurt? Master, are you napping? He's no, of course not. I've been severely wounded. Trying to think of anything else we should touch on before we move on to characters.
Let's just get into characters.
Let's just start with Hayden Christensen. Get it out the way.
Okay.
I think that he does a considerably better job here. And there's some aspect of it that I didn't appreciate until I was watching it this last time, in that he feels a little stiff and overly elegant at times, but then I realized, wait, that's actually how fucking Darth Vader talks. If you listen, actually go back to his dialogue from the original trilogy, he uses a lot of like unnecessarily flowery language, and he talks really kind of stiff, like the idea of his fate will be ours or whatever. I could totally hear James Earl Jones' character saying that. A lot of the dialogue that Anakin says in here, I actually could picture James Earl Jones saying, and I was a little more forgiving about that. But what I am not more forgiving of is the fact that any time that Hayden Christensen needed a strong emotional beat, it was awful.
Yeah.
Like when he's very angry, when he's very sad, he just sounds like a petulant child who is not 100% certain what those feelings mean.
Yeah. He really couldn't break that. It is hard because like in actiony moments, you're pretty much there with them. I even with like the dialogue with him and Obi-Wan before their big scene, like I think maybe partially because he's in like this like angry state, but like a lot of the things that he would say, I'm just like, ugh, I'm not buying into these
I
line
brought
readings.
order and freedom and democracy to my new empire.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Which that line again makes more sense from the original cut when the Jedi actively tried to take over the Senate. Not that he was right, but just that I could see Anakin in that cut making the leap that the Jedi had completely lost their way, and he is the only one that understands this, and thus saying that sort of crap. But yeah, the line, regardless of the context, was not read well. That's the most important thing there. But I just do want to mention, I just think Hayden Christensen's performance here is just head and shoulders above what we saw in the last film.
That is true.
I think the dialogue is generally better. I thought he was able to convey things that I just wouldn't have been able to buy in the last movie. Like I really felt his conflict about killing Count Dooku in that beginning of the film. Like it really just kind of felt like he's trying so hard to be a good person, and I really could tell he was struggling there. The guy who turns into Darth Vader here is a bit more tragic to me than the little punk from the last movie.
Yes, that is fair. I think there are, like I said before, like more moments where I am like moved by what is happening to Anakin. I always feel like the transition from like the fight with Mace, basically turning into like full on master apprentice duo. I feel like it's always so hard. It's such a stark turn, and this is actually like from both of.
Wait, you said wait. I'm sorry. You were saying the fight with Mace?
Yeah, like after they kill him, like after he gets
sorry. I was
blasted.
I was okay. Sorry, I was confusing myself.
Yeah, like that moment, the switch into now we're in like Sith mode always feels a bit clunky to me, especially like as soon as this is going into a little bit of character stuff with Palpatine as well, which I mean I do love what Ian McDiarmid is doing, but like as soon as he gets Sith lightninged and he's in his and he's gotten disfigured, he just like so quickly is just like, and the Emperor's here, and like this like written to basically be that, and it's like he turned on a switch and he is just now like fully the Emperor, and then Anakin is fully like, here we are and you're my master, and it never feels right to me.
Yeah, I think part of the problem there is that a lot of this is still leaking from the original cut. I think that Anakin's reasoning for turning is so different depending on the cut that whole sequence probably should have been reshot. Have him being told, like, I'm not going to do this. This is wrong. I was like, this is the only way your wife's not going to die.
Yeah, I think that would have made more sense. Also, God, he seems so unperturbed by being like self-lightening. Like,
man, I think he did that on purpose, man. I think he was like, I'm going to sacrifice my boyish good looks in order to manipulate Skywalker once more.
I could never.
Because if you think about it, if he had just like, it seems to me that based on how that fight ended, I think that Palpatine probably could have ended that fight a lot earlier. I think he was taking one for the team because I think he wanted to make Anakin desperate.
Yeah, I know he was just being like, help me, I'm just a poor old baby, you're just me, man, it hurt me.
Or maybe he's like, oh no, my mask is melting and now my real face is appearing. Oh no, now I have to wear a hood.
Yeah, like this black man's trying to kill me, help.
I was standing my ground.
Although I feel like once again this is slipping into Palpy stuff, but I don't know. I feel like if you're talking about one as far as like acting stuff, it's gonna overlap. But I do love when they're talking to each other, and he first reveals that he like knows about the Force, and he's kind of getting into it, and Anakin is like, "You know the dark side," and I like the energy with it, just like, know him. Shit, nigga owes me $5.
I'm a little bit more tepid on this sequence because there's that scene where that sequence where Palpatine says he can feel Anakin's anger, and he looks like he's got half a Woody. And
it's real weird. It is that is a big no from me, dog. Don't like it.
Yeah. Let's just talk about this. Let's just talk about Ian McDiarmid. Let's just talk about a little bit more. Ian McDiarmid is this is his trilogy, right? Like this is his opportunity to showcase what he can do, and he's very good, and he's great in this film. We've talked about him a couple of times. I fucking loved watching this movie, and he's like cackling, and then the subtitle that I'm watching on says Sidious cackles. it's, I just loved it. Like everything, not everything. Obviously, I didn't like the half a chub sequence, but almost everything that Ian McDermott here does, I love. I love Palpatine's plot. I said this before, is like my favorite thing about this. Like the moving the chess pieces. I think that he took one for the team. I think that he let Mace Windu lightning him up because if you think about it, like wouldn't the lightning have stopped if he stopped shooting lightning?
Yeah, it totally, it makes sense that he is, letting it happen to be like, oh, me.
Oh god, and like I just fucking love, everyone loves this part where it's just like unlimited power.
It's like, oh, it's happening.
It's happening. He said the thing.
This movie does have that between the hello there, General Kenobi, and the unlimited power, and obviously, did you ever hear the tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Wise?
Oh god, that whole sequence is so interesting to me.
He does such a great, like, that is one of the best just kind of sequences, monologues in Star Wars to me. Like, I think it's so good.
That one part where he's like saying like how it was funny that Plagueis couldn't save himself, where he's like, you could just tell that he is thinking, he's reminiscing fondly on murdering that dude.
Yeah. And like I think he does a really good job of like, he's like slipping into his sidiousness talking about this, but like he comes back to the like just Palpatine guy telling a story. It's like one thing he's worried about is he lost his power, which he did, and
which of course he did, yes.
Yeah, and like it's just very good storytelling and very good character work that I just love.
Yeah.
And anytime that you're in a long line at the grocery store, you should always just turn to someone and be like, did you ever hear of the tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Wise? Just shorten up the line a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a story that the managers of Meyer would tell. All right, I want to talk about Natalie Portman really fast because I really don't only have one thing to say about Natalie Portman here. Well, two things. One is that it's Natalie Padme does fucking nothing. We've kind of touched on this a bit, but like they cut like all whatever she was going to do in this movie when it was originally conceived was thrown out the window. She is Anakin's MacGuffin to justify him turning to the dark side. She's a pregnant wife. That's all she is, and it's very frustrating considering that this is Princess Leia's mom, and Princess Leia doesn't do enough in the original trilogy, but she feels she's doing 1,000 times more than what her mom's doing in this movie. Any given movie.
Yeah, they really, I mean, isn't this just a comment on these freaking dudes' view of women and just like
gave me a look this then.
I mean, I hate it so, like, it's because basically, yes, now that she is a wife and soon to be mother, she is basically nothing but an extension and plot point for Anakin, to the point where like they were talking about like kind of their future with said baby, which I also will get into in a second. But like she says that once it finds out, she doubts, like once it's found out about her pregnancy and stuff, that she doubts the Queen will let her continue her job as senator.
What the fuck is it?
What the fuck is that? Is that her as a mother that she can't do it? Is it her as an unwed mother that she can't do it? Because right now she's not talking about coming out and being like, I'm married to this Jedi. But even then, that seems more like the Jedi's problem than her problem. In what way would this... Like, it really bothered me. It's like, in what way would this mean that she would not be allowed to be a senator? Which she seems fine with.
Which is so interesting because, like, we now know Mon Mothma has a daughter. And the timeline being what it is, she either just had that baby recently or that baby's coming. So, like, and then she ends up being a senator for, like, the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So this can't be a Senate thing. It's not a Republic thing, and it must be some sort of weird Naboo thing. And
I mean,
you know
considering that they have like fucking 12-year-old queens, clear, like Naboo does not seem like a good functioning place. I don't know what's going on there, but it seems weird.
You know, and whatever planet Mon Mothma is from, they marry their daughters off at 13. So and it's still apparently better than Naboo.
Yeah, what is going on with this? Because like, wasn't Mon Mothma? She was like a senator of like 15 or something weird. I can't remember what that was, but like all of her little plot line is her doing a lot of things also very young for reasons.
Okay, I remember how I said I thought Hayden Christensen did a lot better with the material this time around.
Yeah.
I think Natalie Portman's exactly the same as she was in the last couple of movies. I don't know exactly what happened. It might just be because she just didn't have anything to work with. As we see she doesn't do anything. But Natalie Portman's performance here is this is no different than it was in the last couple of movies, in that it was not very good.
I will say, and this is very slight, but in the way that she has her intimate scenes with Anakin, she does have more of a softened tone that feels more affectionate than what I heard in the previous movie. It still gets to winning things throughout, but like there is a difference. It's small, but there is more of a quiet intimacy that she has at moments with him that she didn't have before, but it ain't much.
Yeah.
And there's also, and like, because this happened more in the second movie, but I also saw it now, that like the way that they cut these scenes, particularly like beginning with Anakin and Padme, you could always feel that they literally just went and action, and they just started to talk. It never feels like you are capturing them in the middle of like existing, and then like you are catching them having, like, the conversation has turned to this part that you're witnessing. It is always like they're together and now they're starting the scene. I hate it. It's so poorly done. Like, what are we doing?
You said you wanted to talk about the baby. Is it the idea that she dies in childbirth?
There's so many things.
Okay.
There are multiple things. What the fuck? Okay, one. I don't even know which way to start. What exactly is the space modern medicine here? Because like because we're on Coruscant, so I'm guessing it's like the best medical stuff. Is she just like not getting like prenatal care?
No. Well, although part of that might be because she's trying to keep it a secret, but even so,
I don't believe that, because like once again, she is an intelligent, supposedly intelligent grown-ass woman.
On paper, yes.
She would care about her prenatal care.
Yeah.
2, half the times the medical practitioners are fucking droids. Everyone is always telling their secrets to fucking droids. You think that she couldn't get herself a fucking droid midwife? She could. She absolutely could. Why does she not? She keeps saying the baby. How is it possible with space medicine that she is not aware that she's having twins? That doesn't make any sense to me. It does not make any sense to me. It does not make any sense to me. Step 2. How fucking far along is she? She's so small, and she's carrying twins that are full ass babies when they come out.
Yeah, they're
like,
huge.
They needed no care. They came out fine.
They came out 5-month-olds.
Yeah, which I know, like, blah 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 TV, but like, she is so small. Like, she's too small for a near-term person with one baby. She looks like she's like, I don't know, 5 months pregnant with like one baby. It looks, what am I watching? Like I Love Lucy? Like, this is like some like 1950s sitcom shit of like what like men were like, this is a pregnancy. We don't want her to be like too pregnant because we don't want her to look gross. Like, it's awful. I hate it. And then we find so all of this stuff makes no sense, and it just feels like someone who like does not know anything about women's health and doesn't care to know anything about women, and it's just like, who cares? it's blah blah blah. This woman's pregnant. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then we get to the actual childbirth when we have the classic. She's medically speaking, she's fine, but for reasons we can't explain, we're losing her. The fuck is that?
That seems like that's an easy fix too, because like all they had to do was have Anakin fuck her up.
No,
in his rage.
Honestly, if they had all they had to say, like, and like once again, because clearly like not a single female was like working on this shit, obviously, like Jesus Christ, but she could have easily had like preeclampsia, which I'm sure that like you know about, because I'm sure like Sophia's doctors probably brought this up as something to look out for. But it's essentially like when you have like high blood pressure, either in pregnancy, sometimes it even like happens like during labor and stuff, and it leads to really severe complications, and it like the mother could like easily die from it if it's not treated.
Yeah, being force choked by your husband is probably a good way to raise that blood pressure.
Exactly. And like, so here's a legitimate medical reason, although once again, space medicine probably should have been able to like solve that. But like, and the other thing, and so like, but no, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna have her go bleh, and it drives me nuts because like it just doesn't make sense. It's not compelling. Like the idea that like one, how do you just do that? You're just like, oh man, I'm so sad, blah. And like, because in that moment, like, it feels crazy to me that like in that short amount of time, she's just like, oh, Anakin, I hear like these little things. Not even like a lot of times to even like process that. But she's just like, I'm out. She's hearing like the fresh cries of her babies, and she's just like, nope. If it had been which I know, because like obviously they don't have time for this. The problem, like the writing has already been like bamboozled and blah blah. If it had been that she dies because of the sadness about Anakin, to me it would have been so much more compelling if she had like lived, through the childbirth, and she is early into being a mom, having probably severe postpartum depression mixed with the, oh my God, I now see that my love has committed mass murder, and I let this happen. Like, even if obviously she didn't, but like the kind of thing where like you're in a horrible state and like you blame yourself and you are overwhelmed by this, and like maybe you commit suicide or blah 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 because the weight of it is too much, because you're also in a state of like new motherhood, which is also like very and like Lord knows we don't have space psychiatrists here, and like I could see that. Also, it makes it a little slightly more likely that Leia could maybe imagine an image of her sad mother if you'd let her die a little farther into their existence. But no, we couldn't do that.
Might have been able to fit that in there if the first movie didn't exist.
Exactly. I'm so.
Oh boy, I think we gotta move on.
But wait, but before we do, because I also. I thought it was very funny that like, so how like after the big fight with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and and Obi-Wan comes back to the ship, and C-3PO was like, we managed to get Padme onto the ship, and I was like, isn't it just you? It's like, that motherfucker just like dragged her into the ship. It's like, okay, that's why she died.
No, that's why she died. That's why they mind wiped him too, because they didn't want the evidence. I want to talk about Ewan McGregor, but we don't talk about him very long because I already kind of said Obi-Wan's awesome. There's not a ton more to say. That Ewan McGregor is probably at his best here, and he's really able to elevate the material, not dissimilar to the way that Liam Neeson did in the first movie, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in the end, like the most talented people, do shine through.
Yeah. Since I've already talked about him, I'll just say this one thing. I think it's hilarious that he got in a James Bond kill line after like in his fight with General Grievous.
Oh yeah, jeez.
I mean, like I think at the time I thought it was kind of lame, but now I'm watching it now. I was like, no, that's actually very fun. Like, this is a callback to the first movie, and it's also basically illustrating that Obi-Wan Kenobi is just basically Space Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's fun.
Like I would have actually liked to see Obi-Wan toss General Grievous out of a plane, and then everyone looks at him and he's like, no ticket. My boy Jimmy Smits is in here. I guess he's fine. He's playing so against type, it's actually jarring. Just because this is, again, I think I said it last time, this is like the first time I'd really ever noticed him before. So seeing him in all the other things he's been in after that is like, what happened to his English accent? So like, he's just pretending to be like Latino or something. I don't know. Yeah, so it's just very weird. And also, like when he shows back up in later movies, he does not bother with that accent anymore. He just talks like Jimmy Smits, but like, not from the hood, I guess.
Leia had to get it from someone.
Yeah. I wish that Bail Organa had more of a role in the trilogy, because I think it would be more of a payoff here for him to be such a staunch ally to the Jedi. Like I wish, because he wasn't even in the first movie, but I wish that like, they just been around. I think they mentioned him in the first movie. He was like one of the folks who was nominated for being Chancellor, and he ended up not winning.
Actually, it was not Bail. I think I wrote it down. It's a different Organa, but they don't actually say Bail Organa, because I was like,
oh, so they say like do they say like Senator Organa?
Not Senator. Like they give a different name, because I remember clocking that. It would probably take me too long to find it, but like
in any event, I think he would have been more interesting if he had done anything other than stand around and look concerned in Attack of the Clones.
Agreed.
Especially since like we later find out that he has a very close relationship with Padme. Like they're staunch allies with each other in the Senate. That's all Clone Wars shit though. So we don't see any of that here.
Yeah, it a really good example of trying not to bring your opinions of, or like just connection to people based on the Clone Wars. Because I mean, obviously, like, because in the Clone Wars, you get more stuff from Padme actually like doing her job
and being competent
and like taking an active role in trying to make the Republic a better place, and
having some agency.
Yes, getting shit done herself, and then having like helpful moments, seeing like Anakin getting jealous and stuff, and her having to be like, dude, you need to fucking calm down. Like you things that you just don't get a chance to see.
Padme, you've got what I need. But you say he's just a friend. Is there any way we can get AI to make James Earl Jones say that?
Oh my gosh. I refuse. Sag's dog.
No, it's like if as long as we don't monetize it, then it's just us playing around with technology. It's only when people try to sell that shit that it's morally bad.
But that is very funny.
Okay. Frank Oz is Yoda. I think Yoda continues to look significantly better than he did as a puppet in the Phantom Menace. I like the fight scene he had with Palpatine. I hated the scene with him and Anakin, talking about like Anakin's afraid of his vision of Padme dying. He's trying to dance around who he saw dying, and Yoda's big solution is, oh, you should just be okay with her dying and just stop worrying. And I was thinking, like, the Jedi Order would probably work a lot better if they actually had like you said this before, but if they had just designated therapists.
That's what if there was any fucking takeaway, if they just had a Jedi therapist, because for one, maybe care more about the fact that there is apparently someone in his life that he is very attached to, and you're
which is apparently a no-no anyway.
It's apparently a no-no. You don't inquire, like, well, what's going on there? Like, it was
Respect
like a weird...
your privacy, I do.
And, like, you know, clearly he never followed up of the feeling of, like, pain and loss that he felt from him.
Young Skywalker, good you are?
Because apparently, of course, he's on Team Palpy, because Palpy knows about the shit he did to the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
He told him about it. He literally has one confidant because of the... it's just so...
Yeah, no, it's like the Jedi... To what extent might not be super clear because of the big re-edit of this film, but the Jedi lay in a grave of their own making.
Yeah, that is very true.
Like, they made every left turn they possibly could in these last 3 movies, and Yoda's put the nail in the coffin by just telling Anakin, everyone dies, shut up. And
I am so perturbed by Yoda's, you know, I gotta go into exile. It's like, because he says that, like, basically 2 seconds after he finishes his fight with Palpatine and he, like, gets away. And the first thing he says is, I gotta get out of here. And it's just like, how dare you? This is so much your fault. You don't get to just be like, well, I'm gonna choose, like, I'm gonna decide that my punishment that I'm giving myself is to go into exile. It's like when problematic people in Hollywood send themselves to fancy rehabs. And it's like, I am so sorry for all the horrible things I have done. I'm just gonna hang out here in rehab for a few months. I gotta stand. It's like, I gotta reckon with who I am. And it's just like, there are people who are gonna continue to be murdered, and you're just like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go reflect and not help anyone ever. What the fuck?
Kidnapping that girl, regret I do. Regret I do choking that woman in that bar. Reflect on myself. In exile, I will. But see the Flash, you should.
It's just very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of get it, but I think they needed to spend more time dealing with it. But I think the idea that he's going into exile because he realizes that it's all his fault, and he is so filled with self-loathing and regret over all his actions that he's just like, I just can't live in the world anymore.
Yep, if you want that to happen, you can't say it in the middle of his, like, getaway from a fight. No. Because it looks real bad.
They needed time to flesh it out. Into exile I must go. Got this, I think you do, Bale.
Yeah. Luck I wish you. Bye now. Like,
bye.
It's just really bad. It's very frustrating. Because, like, because we... and, you know, this, I'm sure, maybe at some point, because, you know, we're constantly having TV shows and other things with, like, other writers kind of, you know, cleaning up the shit of these movies. So, like, it might be, like, one day that someone makes a little mini movie about, like, oh, actually, during this time, this is the way that, like, Yoda was trying to help the whatever. But, like, we see what we see, you know? It's annoying.
You know, how long before we get the Yoda miniseries where we see him leaving his planet for a while to go on an adventure with Princess Leia?
Yeah.
We have to mention Mace Windu, but Mace Windu doesn't do too much until he does a really cool thing.
Yeah.
But you know, Samuel L. Jackson is pretty serviceable here. He has to do a little bit more than he normally would, but that fight scene with Palpatine, apparently they were extraordinarily detailed in all the moves that Jackson had to learn to do that. It looks pretty cool. This is probably the moment that Mace Windu actually kind of earns the kind of not hype, but he's basically spends the last two movies sitting down, and everyone's saying, oh, that he's like pretty powerful. And this is like the scene where he's like, oh, this is why they all said that. And then he dies, which is fine because like he needed to die before the plot to move forward. But the Mace Windu, bye.
Yeah, in the end, like Sam Jackson is just another one of the actors that are just his deliveries are very wooden. This isn't his element. I don't think we had the right people around him to be like, so this is what you bring to the table. How can we utilize the energy and charisma that you have when you're doing like flat out motherfucker stuff? And how can we figure out how to translate this into this? Like, there's no one there to figure that out, and so it's him trying to be Jedi-like, and it's very boring, and it's unfortunate.
It's interesting because in interviews at the time, he was so proud of the performance here, and he was saying that Mace Windu is going to be the character that cements his legacy as an actor. Like, this is going to be what people remember him for. And it's funny because we're 3 years away from Nick Fury showing up after the credits of Iron Man, which is the actual role that people are going to remember him for, probably.
Yeah, that is funny. Well, I mean, I was going to say I'm glad it worked out, but then, we just had
Secret Invasion came out and it was not good. Okay, any other character that you feel like we need to talk about before we move forward here?
Well, one thing I thought was weird. Okay, I have two things, but for one, I was thinking about the clones. Did it? They're here. Temuera Morrison still like he's portraying the clones. Didn't it feel like they were just like overly like CGI'd?
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem is that they were, it's like one guy basically copy and pasted a bunch of times already in a sequence that is heavily green screened, and I think it just didn't come together.
Too many things.
I think it was just too many things.
Because like even when he was alone, it felt oddly CGI'd, and even when they were in gear, like I noticed that like a lot of the clones, like even like when they had their masks on, were CGI'd. Like they weren't even just like guys in suits. And that seemed weird to me. Like, because, one of my big problems with these movies for the longest time is just like, it's just so CGI'd. And it gets so exhausting. And like, this is an example of like, even like in a scene where it's just like, Yoda and Chewbacca and like the other Wookiee dude and a clone, he was CGI'd, and like I just didn't like that.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have any thoughts about that?
I nothing that I think we need to spend time on.
And my other thought, the other thing that came up, so we have sweet R2 in this, and how his his opening scene is cute with him trying to help the guys while Obi-Wan is totally gumming up the works. If you stop yelling, it's like he doesn't know how to mute that. If they're not responding to you, almost like 4 times out of 5, it means that something is going on and they cannot speak to you. Stop yelling. They can hear you. They can hear you. But anyway, is R2 aware of what's happening? Like, when he have like the sequence,
there's no way he's not.
Because, like, with all that stuff happening, is R2 just over there just like, are we the baddies?
And considering that he just goes with them to Mustafar without saying anything, I think he's okay with it. It's like, oh, that's how we rolling now? All right, got it. Let's kill some kids.
I bet fucking wait.
Oh my god, I want to have someone like in Mandalorian, like at the old Jedi Temple, going through old records, and then they see like, wait a second, what's this image? And it's just R2 just running over a bunch of younglings. It's like, wow, this droid kills like almost half as many people as Darth Vader did.
Like just having like mad chopper energy, just fucking up people.
Oh, it's R2-D2. We're okay. He's gonna help us. Wow!
Yeah, that moment when he goes like really nuts, but he does that to all the younglings. Oh my god. Oh no. Also, we haven't actually, but just as a final thought, because we didn't even touch on it. The sequence of him becoming Vader.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So like with the suit. Yeah. Let me talk about this actually because I was thinking about this. I wasn't sure where to put it in.
Because I feel like we're getting near the end of our time,
yeah. Let's
so.
let's count this as. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah.
And then we'll go. Oh, I guess we got to talk about music though. But we won't talk about music that long. But in this, the sequence itself is what it is. I'm not like for or against it. The main point of contention in this scene that a lot of people have is the Darth Vader screaming out, "No!" You know what? I don't care. I don't mind it. I think it's fine now. I hated it back then, but now I think it's okay. What I fucking hate is that they took this exact soundbite and inserted it in Return of the Jedi for when Darth was seeing Anakin get the beat down by the Emperor, and it ruins that whole scene. But you know what? Here, I decided it's fine for me.
Really? All right.
Yeah, I've decided that I no longer have any ill will towards the decision to put that in there.
I don't like it. I think it's clunky, but I do like the moment of once again, they have really compelling shots in this movie, and I think the moment as they're like lowering the top of his helmet onto his mask, it's a close up of the side view of the mask, and it's like they put it on, and then you hear the first Darth Vader breath. That is a really great moment. So like once again, this movie does have like a lot of those like, ooh, that felt really cool. Yeah.
By the way, with the space technology, I feel that Darth Vader's body doesn't need
All of that stuff.
all of that, you know.
It's kind of, yes, it is. It's real hard because it's like, the costuming is the costuming. This is what has, this is what the original movies had. So we're kind of stuck having this be the way he looks. But like, yes, in the context of like what Star Wars is now, it is kind of weird that he has all of that stuff.
I will say that apparently a lot of this, it's been explained away in other material, like that the suit was purposely designed to be clunky, unnecessary, and stupid and annoying, so that Darth Vader would be in a constant state of annoyed, so that his dark side power would always be at least a little bit triggering, and then he'd also be more quick to anger and more quick to do other stuff because he's already in a bad mood because of just how terrible his suit is. All Palpatine's designed to get the most out of it. Oh, speaking of Palpatine, I do like in this scene where he's like, when Vader is like screaming and Palpatine's in the back, and then it kind of goes close up of him and you see the little slight smile on his face as Darth Vader is screaming in agony.
Well, it's got that Woody going. Just so happy about it.
Also, didn't Palpatine look kind of oddly like sad over the body of Vader when he finds him in the lava? Like he's kind of like that little moment he has over him. It's like, no.
Yeah. He did seem oddly loving in that moment. Yeah, it is kind of interesting because it's like it is kind of a thing to think about because on one hand he has his prized pupil now, and like the first thing that happens is like it seems like he might die, and that little moment could perhaps mean that he there is amount of care that he has for Anakin, maybe possibly as a little bit of a surrogate son, like not anything that would ever be like fully realized in his black little heart, but like that moment does suggest that there is at least a little bit of genuine care.
Yeah, and then 20 years later he is really hot to get Vader to get killed by Luke so he can get the new hotness.
I mean, that's just how he is. Like the way he deals with apprentices, it's like historically people with like people in power with their marriages, which is like, because like honestly, the whole thing with Dooku feels like completely like it's like when All right. Well, my last husband is gone, and the most useful person politically right now to get me to the next level is this person. And I feel like with Dooku, it's like, okay, he's fresh out the Jedi Order, or like he's on his way to being like he's being disillusioned out. He's probably a very helpful person to have like in my power right now, because then I have like some nice Jedi access. And so, like, for the time, it's like, it's not the best marriage, but like, you got to be making decisions fast. And like, for right now, this is a useful marriage. But now let's get him out because the new hotness is here. And that's the one I really want. Like, that's what
My
it feels
husband does not pay that much attention to me, but he does treat me well, I believe.
like. Like, essentially.
I want for nothing.
He has that lush back to tank. So, like, his man's treating him well enough.
I want to talk about music, but not that much. I don't think because I forgot to talk about music last time. And really, the only thing I wanted to say last time was that the only song that really kind of transcended this movie was the love song between Anakin and Padme, which is Across the Stars. And I just want to say, no, I didn't. Like the franchise pretends it does, but no one remembers that song.
Here's the thing, because I didn't bring it up because I was just like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't resonate with me. But I did notice that for this movie, I was more aware of it. I was more aware of them bringing it back and twisting it as things were crumbling between Anakin and Padme. So in that regard, I think it worked because I was like, oh yes, this is their love theme that is getting, you know, morphed and blah blah. And so, but it's like it's really the only time that I really properly acknowledged it, and it's kind of the only music that has even kind of mattered besides obviously Duel of the Fates.
Yeah. I mean, Anakin's theme comes up a lot from the first one.
That doesn't stick with me at all.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Well, Cross the Stars doesn't stick with me whatsoever. So for me, it's just Duel of the Fates. As far as this movie goes, the only time I ever there was it's generally fine. Like there's like John Williams' score sounds good, but like just none of the tracks really like stuck with me in any real capacity. I perked up when I recognized songs from the first trilogy. Especially in like the last few minutes before they go to the credits, where it was really doing a lot of callbacks.
Yeah.
But it's just I just want to say that this trilogy has not had a ton of great tracks that will last the test of time. Just basically the one. Okay. Now for real, anything else that we need to talk about before we wrap it up?
Just a reminder that if you want this child to go into hiding and not be found by his dad, just a reminder, don't send him off with his dad's only family and give him his dad's last name.
Oh, you know what? I was actually thinking about this time, and I thought about it, and like Lars and Beru could have named Luke whatever they wanted. They were given a baby. Yeah. They could have been like, "Oh, this is our son Clive II," or whatever his father's name was. This is Lars Jr.
Yeah.
And Lars Jr. Oh
no, wait. Lars is their last name, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm fucking up.
Owen.
Owen and Beru.
Yeah.
So this is Owen Jr. They could have done that. Even
if it was just Luke Lars, like yeah.
Obi-Wan would have no control over what that kid's name was. So it wasn't necessarily Obi-Wan and Yoda who made the brilliant decision to have him named that. I mean, they still made the quote-unquote brilliant decision to stick him in a very obvious place. But if they had left the baby with Owen and Beru and they had just named him Luke Lars and said, "This is our son," then even if Darth Vader for some reason came poking around there, he would have no reason to believe that would not be their actual kid. Yeah. But instead, they raised him as their nephew and called him Skywalker. And I was wondering why they would do that. And I came to a conclusion, but this only works based on what I saw from Obi-Wan. So all of this is just like doesn't matter for this fucking film, but I'll say it anyway. Owen doesn't know Anakin is Darth Vader. he seemed very friendly to Anakin the one time he met him. Maybe, for what we know, he actually respects Anakin. He doesn't respect his choices because it ended up getting him killed, but he's like, you know what? He wasn't my brother, but he was kind of my brother. And to tribute him, I'm not going to pretend to be his son's father. I will raise him, and I will tell him, you are the son of Skywalker, and you should be proud of that. And not realizing at all that Anakin is an evil cyborg now who would probably be happy to murder everyone on Tatooine to get that kid back. And because I would buy that Obi-Wan decided that Lars didn't need to know. The Lars family didn't need to know this.
To Owen, Anakin is just this sad stepbrother who got rid of their sand people problem.
Yeah. Say what you want about Anakin, but our crops have been great since he murdered all those sand people.
God.
He'll always be a hero to me.
But where's the fanfic of, like, if you like parallel Leia going with Senator Organa, and then like Luke goes with Jar Jar Binks, and he grows up with the Gungans, and he's like, instead of him trying to just get out of the sand, he's just like, I gotta get out of this water. I just want to see some dry stuff.
Lukey.
For some reason, Luke has a weird patois, and everything is awful.
I'm just imagining just Jar Jar just saying that sort of stuff to him all the time. It's like, I just want to go down and get some power converters. Or looky here, Lukey. You have to stay and help me with the bombad water. Okay. Let's wrap this up. Ariel, what would you give Revenge of the Sith? Give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thumb somewhere in the middle?
That's a good question. The Padme stuff bothers me so much. I think it's a high middle. I'm not sure if I can give it to like reach into my soul enough to give it a full thumbs up. It's a high middle.
Okay. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I am shocked of how much I enjoy watching this movie again. Like, I watched it last night. I ended it going like, man, that was really enjoyable, to the point that I felt I could ignore a lot of the problems with it. Not completely. This isn't like a perfect, I don't think of this as being like a great movie. I still think this is like a good movie, but could have been much, much better if they had just done things sanely and with a bit more effort. But even so, I enjoyed this movie. Like, it was so much more than the last two movies. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah, I can't remember the score I gave. Whatever score I gave Phantom Menace, this is definitely more than that. So, yeah.
You gave Phantom Menace a thumbs in the middle, I believe.
Yeah, it's a higher,
a low thumbs in the middle.
Oh, so this is a high thumbs in the middle.
I remember because I just edited it this weekend, so I remember what you said. Okay, so for the last time, let's play. Is this better than The Rise of Skywalker? Is it better or worse than The Rise of Skywalker? What do you say?
I'm still gonna say yes, because the Palpatine stuff in here actually makes sense. Is compelling. The Palpatine stuff there is absolute ridiculousness.
I like this better than Rise of Skywalker as well. However, I will say this: I think how good the Palpatine stuff in this movie is why Palpatine even shows up in The Rise of Skywalker. I think people are like, oh, he was great in that, and we really need that top level villain. Andy Serkis just isn't gonna be able to cut it.
Which obviously
we need Palpy baby.
It's a lie. You just let Andy Serkis do stuff. With or without the green screen, we've learned. Just bring Andy Serkis in.
That's gonna do it for us for this week. We're going to be going to slightly different waters next time. We actually debated about this before the episode began, so looks like we're not going back to the jungle, but the jungle is coming to us. And we are going to be going back to the Robin Williams quote-unquote classic, Jumanji. A movie that I remember actively disliking. Like that cartoon show that came out later.
Man, I can think of how many like cartoon series of these movies that I watched. It's ridiculous.
Also, I actually liked the reboot I guess it's not necessarily a reboot. It still could be in like the same universe, but like the Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart movie. I actually like that. I like that one. Didn't see the second one though. Didn't like it enough to see it again.
I started watching it relatively recently, but the instead of having a bunch of previews, a bunch of commercials at the beginning, and then showing the movie all the way through, it was doing commercials throughout, and I found it I found it so annoying that I stopped watching it.
What platform was that?
It was Hulu. It was Hulu. Yeah, which is not Hulu's style, but it was really annoying, so I stopped watching.
I think I had that happen to me recently.
Yeah, they need to figure that out.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get going. If you want to get a hold of us, adultsiblingsversus@gmail.com is the email. We are on Twitter. That is Twitter, @adultversus. We are at Adult Siblings Versus on Instagram. We are on Facebook. Our theme song is Sell Out by Zombie Apocalypse Now from the EP Forbidden Tales of Science. You can find that and more at antizombierock.bandcamp.com. So, Ariel, I want to ask you a bit of a debated Star Wars question. When do you think Anakin becomes Darth Vader? Do you think he becomes Darth Vader when he is burned up to a crisp and gets the armor on? Or do you think he is Darth Vader when he is christened Darth Vader and then goes to town on those school kids?
You know, there's actually a deleted scene when he's going to Space McDonald's and he's like 2 minutes late for breakfast. And he had his mouth all ready for like a sausage sandwich. And he does murder everyone in that McDonald's, and that is the moment.
Okay. All right, so I think we'll go over to Wikipedia and then alter some articles to make sure that it reflects, the true origin of Darth Vader.
The world needs to know.
But until next time, as always, please do not put a dirty sock in your younger sibling's mouth.
Yeah. Sith lightning cutting those Jedi down. Sith lightning, oh Sith lightning. Go Sith lightning, feeling fury and sound. I killed a Jedi, I think I killed a Jedi.
Well, it's on brand.